Welcome to the first episode of the Shoot Your Shot Sports Weekly Fantasy Lifeline Show. This is Richie Chicago, and I am joined by the fantasy football expert, Jordan. And we're here to help
you
suck
less.
All right. So this is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy, the daily fantasy sports app for player props. Use promo code Shoot Your Shot when you sign up today, and you will receive an instant $20 bonus on your first deposit of $20 or more. Stay tuned for the Thrive Fantasy player prop blocks. So before we get into it, Jordan, tell us about your history with fantasy football.
First of all, Rich, I'm excited to be here. I've been a part of the fantasy football community for almost since 1993, so 27 years now. I grew up in a fantasy football household. My dad was the commissioner, so I still remember, back then, the Emmitt Smith, Jerry Rice, Steve Young days. We would be opening the paper up Monday morning, going through the stat books, using the calculator, adding up the points. Email was still pretty new back then. I still remember the waiver wire stuff. My dad's buddies, they were 25 years old at the time, and the internet didn't exist. So to put a waiver wire claim in, they'd be calling the house on Wednesdays, on Friday nights, on Saturday nights, 2 a.m. in the morning. And mom would be getting, answering the call thinking something was wrong, and it'd be guy, I want to drop Eric Moulds and add this guy, and so that's the life I grew up on. Luckily, those guys brought me into their league 2001, so I've been doing this for 19 years myself. So I have a lot of years under my belt, only one championship, but I've played in a lot of championships. I find this year to be one of the toughest years that I've had to jump into. To fantasy, as everybody knows, there was no preseason, a lot of new coaches, a lot of really good rookies. And, I had myself out there. I was following guys on Instagram. I was watching YouTube channels, trying to do anything I could to get an upper hand in the draft. So, yeah, if you're out there, you know that this was tough for everybody. But like we said, we're here to help you suck a little bit less. Hope we can help you navigate, continue week one success or bounce back after a tough week one loss. So that's my background there.
Awesome. So let's get right into this. So tell us, what are your major takeaways from week one?
So first thing is there's a lot of really crowded backfields. You only have a handful of your bell cow backs, your Saquon Barkleys, your Zeke Elliott's. McCaffrey's going to give you 20 points a game. If you didn't get lucky enough to get guys like that and Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry had 35 touches on Monday. Volume is the key here in fantasy football. You're going to win your leagues by trying to stockpile the right running backs in the right system. And so I want to touch on a couple of these running back timeshares and at least some of my thoughts and who you should be adding, who you should be going after. If somebody offers you a trade, the value that you could hold in that person. So I'm going to start with the Lions. Of course, we can talk about the Lions here because they lost to the Bears this weekend. I probably wouldn't have brought them up. But thanks to our lovely rookie, DeAndre Swift, he dropped a nice little touchdown there in the end zone for the Bears to pull out the victory. Again, I think he's somebody you need on your bench. Unfortunately, Adrian Peterson, is never going to stop running the ball. It doesn't seem like.
That's crazy.
And he doesn't look like he's lost a step. He's going to get the touches right now. If an injury happens, the stock would rise for the other player. I can't say I'm starting Swift. I'm going, Peterson. I'm maybe putting him in a flex depending on the matchup. Green Bay this week, not a horrible matchup. If you have a flex player hurt, you want to take a chance. You like Peterson. The guy can always go for 100 yards and a touchdown, as we see year after year, playing on bad teams, putting up fantasy points still. He's still going to get the garbage time. The biggest one, I think, this is one coming into the season. We didn't really know much because there was no preseason. They're with the Browns. We got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Most people remember Kareem Hunt was, the stud with the Chiefs back Mahomes' rookie season. Had the incident, that's kind of sidelined him for a couple of years. Browns are clearly all in on him. They just gave him a nice contract extension. Chubb's still on his rookie deal. Both great backs. Unfortunately, Chubb's not going to see a lot of the balls out of the backfield. He's not as dynamic as someone like Kareem Hunt is. And if the Browns are the Browns, they're going to be playing from behind. They're going to need to get ahead in games. to see Chubb really get the points you need to see. However, you drafted him in the first round. You're starting him every week. I would put Chubb and Hunt in my lineup every week. Not necessarily the same lineup, but they would be in my lineup every week until I saw otherwise. Something happens to one of the other guys, they instantly move up to RB1, and they're putting up numbers like Christian McCaffrey. The Ravens, again, number one rushing offense in football last year. The Browns did a pretty good job of slowing them down. Ingram is not on the right side of 30, and they got this young rookie, J.K. Dobbins. If you have Mark Ingram and have to start him, I'm starting him. I was hoping that he would get a few more goal line touches than he did. He couldn't do anything with him. Dobbins punched him right in. So Dobbins is somebody I have in every single league of mine. I was taking him in a ADP about a round ahead of everybody. He's somebody I want come week 14, week 15 in the playoffs, because he's going to be a league winner. And if you get a chance to get J.K. Dobbins, do it. The guy's going to be an absolute stud for you this year. Might be week 10. He's going to be a decent flex play until then. But he's going to be somebody you want come that back half of the season, because he's young, he's fresh, and he's playing in the number one offense in football. The Niners, I think Mostert's the number one guy there. He got the most touches, he had the most yards, he had the most touchdowns. McKinnon hasn't played football in 2 years. Looked pretty good. He's going to be a change of pace back. Tevin Coleman, again, another great running back. But 49ers put their money in Mostert's pocket over the offseason. He was the guy to, first half, second half, he was the guy that came out on the first drive. He's got the explosive hand. Again, they don't have any weapons there in San Francisco. They can't throw the ball to anybody. Kittle's hurt. These running backs are going to be touching the ball a lot. They're all going to be solid, but Mostert's the only guy I'm starting week in, week out, unless I see otherwise. Big surprise Sunday night, the Rams, Malcolm Brown. Everybody was talking Cam Akers. Again, there is no preseason. You don't know how good this guy is. They were talking him up, and sure enough, Malcolm Brown comes in, roughly 20 carries, 100 yards, but, had 4 or 5 catches for another 30, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's going to be my number one waiver wire pick this week. We'll get into that here a little later, but that's Malcolm Brown's the guy I want on my offense until I see otherwise, one in my lineup until I see otherwise. I'm not dropping Akers because I want to see what happens. They're clearly good. I've invested a high round pick in him, so we'll see how it plays out. But Brown's the guy I want to own right now. Colts, that's the big one that everybody drafted Jonathan Taylor pretty high. The Mac coming out with the Achilles injury, it's going to be Taylor and Hines now, and I think as the season goes on, Jonathan Taylor will carve out a role, a niche into that offense. But Hines, I see him as kind of your Eckler type. I see this as an offense very similar to the Chargers a couple of years ago when they had Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. Phillip Rivers loves to dump that in that offense. Frank Reich, the offensive coordinator, was the offensive coordinator in San Diego when Eckler and Gordon were there. It's a perfect combo. Both guys were fantasy relevant. So I'm trying to own both guys. Starting, I have no problem starting Jonathan Taylor next week. I have no problem starting Naeem Hines next week. So that's kind of from I think that was the biggest takeaway I had from week 1 was, man, these backfields are crowded. The other thing I said a couple of times, people that were texting me this week because they saw an article or were watching TV and someone's like, oh, people were afraid to start Derrick Henry against the Broncos because he had 20 yards last week against some guys. You're playing your studs, at least for the first 4 weeks of the season. If you drafted somebody within the first 4 rounds, you're playing them. There's an injury that's different, but if you drafted them, you use that stock to draft them. Unless you got lucky and you landed Fournette later, and he shows up, you're drafting. You're playing your top. You're the guys you picked in the top 4 rounds. Always play your studs. Don't worry about matchups. Football players are always going to get theirs. So those are my 2 biggest takeaways going into the next week. As you saw, the studs put up big points, and hey, we're hope for some more because it's a lot of fun when the guys you draft actually do something.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a ton of injuries this past week 1. Who are you most worried about?
So that's almost to be expected. No preseason. These guys had never, most of these guys hadn't even tackled anybody yet. People are a little slow. It reminds me again, the first couple of weeks of high school football, you get people are getting their ankles rolled up on, and bumps and bruises, separated shoulders. My biggest worry, I think, would have to be Michael Thomas, high ankle sprain. Keep an eye on that one. I wish I had an answer to who's going to see those touches. I think it's going to be Emmanuel Sanders. think it's going to be Traquan Smith. Michael Thomas says he's playing through the injury. We will see. High ankle sprains are tough, but Michael Thomas might be the toughest guy in all of football. He's the best at running a 3 to 4 yard route. I think he's going to get his. Teams are going to gear up to stop Kamara. They're going to have to put the ball in the air at some point. If Michael Thomas is playing, he's in your lineup. If he's, of course, if he's not playing, he's out. And then George Kittle, I think he's talking about being fine. 49ers being pretty hush. Going to see how he comes in this week. It's scary because there's no one else catching the ball in San Francisco. Kittle didn't catch a ball in the second half. Was out there as a decoy. I wouldn't be surprised to see him missing a couple weeks. They're going to need him through the beef of that schedule. They play with the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Cardinals. And as you saw, all three of those are really good football teams. And the 49ers are outside looking in with a bunch of running backs and a tight end. So, Le'Veon Bell, he's on the IR. You're going to move him to your bench. I don't recommend Frank Gore yet. We don't know what he's done. The Jets are absolutely awful. They're going to have no fantasy relevance. Don't play any New York Jets on your football team unless you absolutely have to. Devontae Parker, I think he's going to be out for a few weeks. I was one of the guys that was on the Preston Williams train before the season. I liked him at the beginning of last season. Try to get Preston Williams if you can, whether it's Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, Tua. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot down there. Preston Williams is probably the guy I would want to own. Late addition was Chris Godwin. They're in Tampa Bay. Said it's a head injury. We haven't got many details. They don't have to give us the injury report till tomorrow. But if it is a concussion, nothing we can really do about it. But know that usually 2 concussions in 1 year is not great. It's not ideal to get your first concussion week 1. And again, I talked about it a little bit. Marlon Mack's out for the season. Blake Jarwin's out for the season. They were late round streamers. People were probably taking, hoping that there might be an injury. Get those guys out. We'll talk about some replacements if we need them here in a minute. And then one to keep an eye on. I don't know how hurt he is. James Conner. Sounds like he could have came back in. Benny Snell was running the ball pretty well. The biggest fear there is I think that's going to become a timeshare running back offense. James Conner, Benny Snell, they're going to be flex guys. It might get to a point where it's going to be hard to pick the Steelers running back unless someone's seriously injured. But if Connor's the guy, he's going to be sharing. If Connor's out, Benny Snell's somebody I'm definitely starting week in, week out.
Nice. All right. So who are you prioritizing on the wire this week?
So Malcolm Brown, we love running backs out of St. Louis. Todd Gurley put up a lot of good years there.
Oh yeah.
And I think he didn't give him any reason to take him out. Put it that way. He's the most senior guy there in that backfield, playing in a very tough division. They're going to want a guy they trust. Until Malcolm Brown gives that job up, that's the guy I'm going with. After that, Nyheim Hines. He's one that I really like. I compare him to Austin Eckler. He's coming into his 3rd season. Right offense with the right quarterback could be a big year for him. Benny Snell, he's probably gonna be taken in most leagues as anybody that drafted Connor probably, put a handcuff on Benny Snell because because of the injury worries with Connor, but you never know. For wide receivers, really it's up to who you like. I like Robbie Anderson. He's available in most leagues. Looked pretty good for the Panthers. Corey Davis looked like was finally putting it together. Mike Williams I've seen is available. Marquez Valdez-Scantling for any of you Packer fans out there. Again, that's going to be a boomer bust week. He's going to have weeks where he puts up 20 points. He's going to have weeks where you didn't even know he took the field. And Russell Gage, he's continued, former LSU guy. He had put a solid into the season when Calvin Ridley wasn't playing. I fear that he's going to be a game plan kind of guy. I still like Julio, Ridley, and Hurst. Really hard for me to go after the 4th pass catcher. But if you're that deep, you can take a look. If you did have Jarwin, you didn't like your tight end output. 60-70% of leagues, you can still scoop Dallas Goedert, stud for the Eagles. Johnny Smith's out there. He had he put a touchdown on the board last night. And Noah Fant. I like Noah Fant a lot. I have Noah Fant in a lot of my teams. He was Drew Lock's favorite target. Young quarterback, their favorite target's always the tight end. And I'll leave it with anybody that watched the game. Gostowski missed 4 kicks, so if he's on your team, get him out of there. Anybody's better. Anybody's better. We'll talk about Cody Parkey again, but I would send Cody Parkey out there before I send Gostowski out there again.
Yeah, I was about to say he was. I think got signed to the Browns today or yesterday or something like
He
that.
signed with the Browns today, and he will come back up in my my lovely Thrive lineup here in a bit.
Awesome. So if you guys don't know, we're actually sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. So make sure you check out Thrive Fantasy. Basically, go to the Google Play or App Store and download Thrive Fantasy. It's free to play, but make sure you deposit $20 when you go in. You get $20 for free, and then just enter shoot your shot. So you get all that for free. So here's our Thrive Fantasy player prop locks of the week.
I made the mistake when you sign up, guys. Make sure you put in the promo when you sign up for your account. I was on with the help team, and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I forgot to update my my promo. They helped me out. Great team over there. Really cool concept, guys. It's a mixture of fantasy with the prop bets. Works on the over and under system. They give you amount of yards, receptions, touchdowns for all the major players in a game. I'm likely gonna talk about 1 or 2 games a week here. My game this week, I'm going with the Battle of Ohio this Thursday. I like it because you got one game. It's a great game with a ton of fantasy people. 2 okay teams. You should see some points. Joe Burrow was pretty exciting on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns were not. Odell Beckham. We got flashy receivers in Odell Beckham and AJ Green. We got Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt. Hey, the Browns are already in the news, already talking about trading Odell Beckham this week. So this could be his last game. I know he's trying to shut up the haters, but no, I think we're gonna have a lot of potential fantasy fireworks. We got some Heisman, so let me dive in here. It'll make a lot more sense when you're on the site looking at it. Basically, they give you roughly 20 options, 20 prop options. You got to pick 10. To put yourself in the best position to have the most points when it's all said and done. You hit the over or the under. It lasts lots of a certain amount of points. Get your points towards the end. You go up against a competitor. Whoever has the most points wins. So first one I like, Joe Burrow, over 22.5 completions. They got a good rush defense. They stopped the Ravens last weekend. I thought Joe Burrow looked pretty good. I think he's going to continue to grow. Cleveland secondary is nothing to write home about. They lost Grant Delpit in the offseason. So he's only going to become more comfortable with AJ Green and Boyd. And Mixon can catch the ball in the backfield. I have no issue, seeing him get 23 completions again, which is what he saw last week in his first ever game. Joe Mixon, I'm going to take the under on the 75.5 rushing yards. They held the Ravens, who were the number 1 rush defense, to 100 yards last weekend. I see it come being a lot of the same. I think Mixon touches the ball a lot. I think it's a lot more through the air than it is on the ground. I'm taking the under there. I do think Mixon gets in the end zone, mainly because he's going to be catching the ball. The Ravens popped in 3 or 4 goal line touchdowns. I see Mixon getting those goal line carries. They're not going to be going to Giovanni Bernard there. So I really like the chance that Mixon finds Pater either through the ground or through the air. My next one, I'm taking AJ Green, the over at 53.5 yards. It's Burrow's favorite target. It was his favorite target all day. He was going to him at the end to try to win the game. It's only gonna get better. I think 53.5 is low. He could do that on one catch. I'm gonna take the over on the 4.5 for AJ Green as well. Again, he's his favorite target. He's gonna feed him early and often. He could have 4 catches on the first drive. And with Tyler Boyd there, Uzomah, and Joe Mixon, you can't double AJ Green. So I like the chance of him catching a handful of balls and putting up some yards. I'm taking the over on Tyler Boyd. For a touchdown, half a touchdown, mainly because of the points. I think it was over was 125, under was 75. I'm taking a chance that Tyler Boyd gets in the end zone. It's he might not, but I like the chance of him getting in more, with the points boost than I do on the under. A low one I found, Uzomah, the tight end. He had a great week. Rookie quarterback's best friend's the tight end. They're saying 21.5 total yards. I like him getting at least to the 40 or 50 mark. So I'm taking the over on Uzomah for the yards. Chubb, I'm taking the over on 81.5 total yards. I think he could get this on the ground alone. But he did see 3 or 4 targets last week. So Chubb is someone that they're going to want to get him going. And 81.5 total yards, I think he's going to be able to put that together. He might have that by the third quarter. Here you talked a little earlier, Odell Beckham. he's a lot of buzz. He got a lot of flack for his poor performance last week. I think he's going to want to catch everything that comes to him. 4.5. I have no problem taking the over there. And then we got Kareem Hunt. I see Kareem Hunt finding the end zone for Cleveland this week. He had over 20 touches last week. He's only one play from breaking away. And I think he's the guy they go with on third downs. I think he's the guy they go with in the red zone. I like his chance of putting that touchdown up. And then Cody Parkey, a.k.a. Double Doink. I'm taking the under 7.5. Nobody here in Chicago likes Cody Parkey. So let's see what he can do. But I'm taking the under 7.5. That's 2 field goals and 2 extra points. That's a lot of scoring for a team that didn't look so hot last week in Cleveland. So that's my those are my picks here for our matchup of the week there on Thrive Fantasy.
Nice. All right, so let's wrap this up. So, do you have any daily lineups or favorite daily lineups for this weekend?
So, if you're following the most people were watching Sunday night. Michael Gallup looked like he got robbed of offensive pass interference. He's going into Atlanta this week, where Calvin Ridley just absolutely torched him. They shut down. They didn't shut down Julio. He still had 150 yards, but I see Amari Cooper playing that Julio role. I see Gallup playing that Ridley role. I think that Dak goes to Gallup early and often. I think Gallup, for what he's being, I think he's 5,600 on most sites. I'm having him in all of them. I think he's somebody that can put up 100 and a touchdown. Great wide receiver option, flex option. And then Anthony Miller. I thought he looked great last week. I liked him coming into the season. He ended the year real strong. Nagy was raving about him in training camp. Allen Robinson, not sure what's going on there with Allen Robinson. Anthony Miller's slowly moving his way up the depth chart to number 1 receiver. I think Trubisky has a great rapport with him, and I think they go to him again early and often. I think Anthony Miller's the guy this week at 5,200. Those are my picks to pay. They should see some good numbers. Again, hey, don't come after me if they don't. But at 52 and 5,600 respectively, I'm putting those guys in every lineup.
Nice. All right. So lastly, if you need fantasy advice, you can leave us a voicemail at 312-841-7404. And we'll play it on air for you. And then we'll give you advice. So make sure you call that number, leave a voicemail, we'll put it on air. So anything
Absolutely.
else? Last thoughts?
No, man. Yeah, guys, let me know. Week 1, week 2, not a lot of trades coming in there, but be glad to help anybody with analyzing some trades. Want to know some waiver wire, wanting to look at their team. Hey, who should I start? Who should I sit? We're here for you guys. We want to help you suck a little less.
Awesome. All right. See you guys next week.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, Richie.